the dust settles after the election, the Trump team is now getting ready to move to the White House. A little more than 2 months until President-elect Donald Trump takes over the Oval Office, his focus has turned to his transition team. Trump is drawing squarely from the swamp he pledged to drain, in some cases, staffing his team with longtime Washington experts and lobbyists. One of the first shakeups, the announcement that Vice President-elect Mike Pence will head the transition, replacing embattled Governor Chris Christie. 3 of the Trump children are on his team, along with former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Dr. Ben Carson and Newt Gingrich are also names in the running for a cabinet position. If he names his family to the cabinet, how will they maintain the family business since Trump has to give it up come Inauguration Day? And who do you think will become part of Trump's White House? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page and on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26 Roundup or just tag me at Sally Mac Fox 26. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel led by our Fox 26 senior legal analyst Chris Christie, Democratic media consultant Mustafa Tamiz, and Republican strategist and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. All right, so he got down to business this week and already naming people and shaking things up a little bit. Well, you know, when you're running for president and you win the nomination of your party, one of the things that you start doing is looking at transition very early on in the game. And this is not decisions that he made overnight. These are decisions that were being looked at for a long time. The only thing that people should be really surprised about, and I wasn't surprised at all, is that Chris Christie was removed as the chair of the transition team. He was named and a criminal case was opened against him. He hadn't been indicted, but a criminal investigation was opened against him when he was thrown under the bus in that criminal case that was proceeding about the bridge. And because of that, he was removed as the chair. That's the only reason he was removed as the chair of that transition team. I'm not surprised by anything I've heard on this transition team. Donald Trump picked the people who were closest to him throughout the campaign. That's what I expected. The people who have been named as the top to be in his cabinet are the people I absolutely expected to see. And I'm quite frankly glad to see that there's a few people who have some knowledge of the working of the inside of the government. Whether I agree with their politics or not, at least there's somebody who has government experience.
Well, it's a prerogative of the president to pick the cabinet he wants to work with, and I think he certainly should do that, because in order to run the government, he has to have confidence in the people that he's bringing in. On the other hand, he said he would drain the swamp, and the people that he's bringing in have been inside operatives for a very long time. Right. And if he's trying to heal the divide and have Rudolph Giuliani be the Attorney General, which is what's been voted by Rudy Giuliani, right? You know, who is still talking about investigating Hillary Clinton after the campaign is over. Those are the types of things that people are looking for. If you're looking to heal the divide and move the country forward, then that means that you would try to pick a cabinet that would reach over to the other side. That's what Barack Obama did. He named Hillary Clinton his Secretary of State by going across the aisle and saying, look, I want to bridge the divide. I want to bring more talent, even if I disagree with you. And that's what Abraham Lincoln did, right? So let's see if Mr. Trump goes along that line.
I want to talk about his kids for a minute. You know, leading into the campaign, he and his kids said, we're going to have this, we're not going to be involved in government. We're going to step away. We're just going to run the company, have a blind trust. It's not really a blind trust legally, but we're not going to. Now they're involved in the transition team. Right. He's going to have a real ethics problem here if he doesn't create a separation.
Well, we don't know if they're actually going to be just giving him advice. We don't know what the extent of their role is going to be. You know, when Hillary Clinton had the president and first lady and every other well-known surrogate on the campaign trail, all Donald Trump had were his kids. So it makes sense that now that he's making his transition, he's naming his cabinets, that he would continue to get advice from his kids. Does that mean that they're actually going to be part of the government? No, it's not. But it does mean that they are going to be integral in giving him advice. And if there's going to be any more of a role, then that's the point when he's going to have issues. But we don't know if that's true yet.
All right, let's go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Take a look at what people are saying there. First from Robert, he asks Donald Trump, are you recruiting swamp dwellers to fill out your cabinet posts? Don't do it. Get smart and capable outsiders. And then from this person, Trump should seize the opportunity to name women, minorities, and a Democrat or two to his cabinet. Ben says, will we see Palin nominated as the Secretary of the Interior? And then he also adds the GOP can now do their job in D.C. after Trump nominates Ted Cruz for the Supreme Supreme Court.
You know,
we'll see if that happens.
I was out of town in trial, but that was a question we were talking about. Is Ted Cruz was his trade-off for, and you know Ted, so it was his trade-off for giving up his entire political career, the Supreme Court?
A lot of people have been asking me that, like I have an insight into Ted's brain. But I will say this: as from what I know, Ted is not interested in the Supreme Court appointment. But a lot of people have said that he would make a great nominee. He would make a great Supreme Court justice. I don't see that as something that he would want to do. As far as I know, I see him still planning to run for president sometime in the future. Okay. But I have not discussed this with him personally.
The tweets we just saw was exactly what you just said. If you're going to say we're going to drain the swamp, and the tweets are saying, you know, if you're going to drain the swamp, why are you bringing all these swamp dwellers in? Yeah,
and it'll be interesting. Like, I think his chief of staff, if it's Reince Priebus, here's somebody who's an ultimate insider, who's a chair of the Republican Party. If it's Steve Bannon, who runs Breitbart, right, that's a completely different message. So, you know, the people around him have very strong opinions, and they're well known, and there are insiders. So, and again, we go back to the same problem. You know, he has way overpromised what he can do, and he's structurally not able to deliver on most of those things. So how will his base respond? When he was campaigning, he said even if he shoots somebody, they'll be with him. So we'll see if they stick with him during the presidency. I think he's going to have a healthy mix of both. I think he's going to have some insiders, some people who do know how Washington works, how the government works. And like you said, we want at least to have a couple of people there to know how the process works, since he has never held an elected office before. And I do think you're going to see some new, fresh faces as well. I think it's going to be a healthy mix.
I haven't heard one woman mentioned yet.
Well, Kellyanne Conway. She's been mentioned repeatedly.
Not as a cabinet member, but as an advisor.
I'm sure Kellyanne Conway will be whatever she wants to be, because everyone has really regarded her as one of the key people who helped him to victory. She's been named as press secretary, a possibility for press secretary.
That was my view.
Communications director, but her name has been up there and as one of the top people.
Does he have the guts to name Sarah Palin to be the Secretary of Interior?
I hope not. You know, look, I mean, naming Sarah Palin to a cabinet position would be a mistake for our country. But what do I know? I thought he was not going to win. But I would say Kellyanne Conway is a strong advocate for him, and she's been the only one that's been able to hide away his phone so he can't tweet.
We got to leave it.
That's an important.
We got to leave it right there. We'll be back next week, wrapping up the hottest stories of the week.
Okay, we look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great Sunday.